Okay, everyone, good morning, and thank you for spending some of your Wednesday morning with us. I'm Steph, Director of Infrastructure and Energy Sector Strategy Workforce Partnerships. Welcome to the June Infrastructure and Energy Collaborative. Before we get started, I just want to go through a few housekeeping issues. First, we don't just want your feedback, we need it. This is your collaborative, and we want to ensure that we're providing you impactful programs each month. So please scan that QR code, and at the conclusion of the meeting, you can share your thoughts on today's program. Also, social media. We hope that you will help us spread the word about the collaboratives through your social media. If you use that hashtag NJPathways when posting about today's collaborative or in the future about attending today, we can all stay connected. And then finally, the theme of today's program is adult learners. First, we're going to hear from a panel of Workforce Development Board representatives discussing the importance of engaging adult learners and the recommended best practices. And then we're going to have a terrific example of collaboration with Workforce Development Boards with the Newark Workforce Board and their Construction Trades Grant Program, which focuses on preparing women and minorities for opportunities in the construction industry. So now I'd like to turn the program over to Catherine Stargell, our Senior Director for the Pathways Initiative, and GACITA President Kevin Kurdziel, who's going to facilitate our panel discussion. Catherine?
Thank you, Stephanie. Hello, everyone. We're so excited that everyone is so engaged in our Pathways initiative. It's very important, certainly to Aaron and I. And as we reached out to all of our partners, we realized it was important to everyone else too. So we are very excited to move forward and very happy to feature the Workforce Development Board directors because of all of the wonderful work they do. It's so important. And so I'm happy. I feel like I'm back home today because there's Allison and Fran. Oh my gosh, who was the third one, Stephanie? It's all my people from when I was at Labor.
It's Allison and Fran, and it was going to be Jeff Schwartz and Antonio, but I think they may have had conflict.
Well, that's all right. Fran and Allison and I will have a good time. So Fran and Allison, are you ready?
Allison, I sure am. Hi, so good to see you all. Thank you so much for having us today. So sort of off the cuff kind of notes that I've prepared today. I again want to thank you all for asking for us to join you. As workforce development boards, we're tasked with preparing plans to help meet the needs of the residents in our communities. And so a large part of that is evaluating what the needs are. And for a lot of years, for all of the years that I've been involved in this work, basic skills, adult education, and technical education have been priority goals in getting folks to where they need to be able to take advantage of the career opportunities that we have. And so our focus for all of the years, again, that I've been a part of this work is to help to build programs and partnerships to help individuals meet those needs. And so, starting with the basic educational needs of partnering with our Title II adult education providers and other community partners to help increase skill levels, and then also creating pathways for individuals that have higher education levels to move into our workforce learning link programs, which are state-funded shorter-term remediation programs, and then moving into career-based educational training that then leads to employment opportunities, and hopefully in not just the starting employment opportunity, but then a career path moving forward. And so a lot of the work that we were doing pre-COVID was really kind of focusing on those barriers. And then COVID comes in and changes the landscape of the way that we do work. And so there was a pivot to creating online platforms to provide these services, but then also an opportunity for us to work with our local businesses in identifying incumbent worker training needs. And so we're moving in a direction coming sort of, out of pandemic conditions and into what feels like a little bit more of a normal program year, and shifting our focus a bit more on work-based learning. So some of the programs and services that we'll be providing moving forward. Instead of issuing our standard individual training accounts, which are really important for some learners, but maybe not best options for others, will be to try to identify work-based learning opportunities that combine that educational setting with a work experience type of activity that will allow folks to test the things that they've learned in the classroom and move that into an application type of activity. So we're excited to sort of shift gears and move toward that work. As I mentioned, we're also going to be focusing on providing services to our businesses' existing employees to increase their skill levels, which then provides an opportunity for other folks to backfill those positions and create sort of a natural pipeline to help assist the needs of the business. So sort of as a introduction to kind of this conversation, I hope that is kind of what you guys were looking for there. I'm happy to field questions if we want to do that now or at the end, however you have this set up.
This is why I love you, Allison. From all the years we've been together, I didn't have a chance to give my introduction. You were ready to jump right in. We always could count on you when Aaron and I were at labor, and you are still doing the same thing, which is great. You laid the groundwork. So thank you so much. And we know that the work that you all are doing is so very important. I guess I certainly just want to take some time to announce, right, that the Council of County Colleges has a formal partnership now with the Garden State Employment and Training Association. Kevin Kurtziel, of course, Workforce Development Board Director, Executive Director in Middlesex County, being the president of GSETA, worked with Aaron and I and many of the other Workforce Development Board directors to kind of negotiate that partnership so that the community colleges throughout the state could really join with the workforce development boards in all the great work that you all do to ensure that more residents are work ready. All that you just described, Allison, right? Because what we want to do is, yes, get the unemployed, the underemployed, and incumbent workers skilled to ensure economic mobility, but we'd like to increase credential attainment throughout the state, right? So we want for those workforce development training programs to actually give those working adults, those students credit, college credit, so that they are moving along the pathway toward a degree or industry value credential. And we're looking so forward to formalizing this partnership because certainly many of the workforce development boards already have very tight working relationships and partnerships with their community college, but we want to make it kind of system-wide. And so we're so thankful that you all made yourselves available to be featured during our June collaborative meetings, for sure. I guess I'm going to kick it to Kevin now to kind of talk about the importance of those pathways from all the incredible work that you all do as workforce development boards in getting our workforce trained and employed, and how that's connected to credential attainment.
Thank you, Catherine, and I apologize for being late. I was just wrapping up an interview. I'm currently sitting on 8 vacancies here, so much like many other organizations, we're finally encountering the Great Resignation. But it's great to be here, and I can't believe how fast this month has gone by. It seems like just yesterday we were doing the first session, and here we are already on the eve of 4th of July. So. First of all, I want to thank you, Karen and Aaron, or I'm sorry, Catherine and Aaron. I combined your names there. Catherine and Aaron, for inviting me yesterday to participate in the session with Harvard University, which was how community colleges can drive shared prosperity. And I think one of the things that I took away from that was I think that while some other states may be a little ahead of where we are here in New Jersey, I think that we are on the right track. And I think in many cases we are ahead, a lot further ahead than in what many other states may be encountering right now, working or trying to marry their workforce development boards and collaborate with community colleges. So having said that, I think the role that the Garden State Employment and Training Association can play in what the council has been moving forward with is that we want to be in lockstep with you, right? We want to make sure that we're trying to take advantage or pull all the resources that we have to work collaboratively with you, which could mean various things such as taking some of the funding that we have and braiding it with the programs that you have. And also working on things like employer outreach, right? We all have our own networks of businesses that we work with and employers. And it's important for us to kind of make sure that we're collaborating on that and sharing information that will help the job seekers and the people that we're training, either through our workforce development boards or through the New Jersey Pathways program. So the other thing that I want to add is that number one, Allison and Fran are both also executive team members of the Garden State Employment Training Association. And I think that they would share probably with you that we're taking a greater focus this year on, or the past year, on becoming more policy advocates for the workforce development system in New Jersey. And that includes establishing stronger collaborations with, with the council, but also stronger collaboration with New Jersey Department of Labor, who, is our funding source. But quite frankly, I think there are other ways that we can also collaborate with them. And so we're doing, I think, a better job of advocating for more funding and advocating for programs that make sense for not only today's job market, but for the future as well. And I think this is the first time that I can remember in my time in workforce development that we're really starting to take a more proactive approach to training and to meeting the needs of employers, and also matching the skills of our job seekers with the needs of the current needs of employers, but also, and probably more importantly, the future needs, right? We want to make sure that we're attracting business here to the state and demonstrating that we have a qualified workforce. So I think collaborations like this make a lot of sense. And I look forward to this coming year, even working closer, our respective organizations working closer to meet the ultimate goal of getting more people attaining credentials and getting more people upskilled and trying to create career pathways that promote economic mobility. So it's, again, a pleasure to be here. And I want to thank my colleagues for joining us today as well.
Thank you, Kevin.
Sure.
Fran, what are you guys doing? I say that facetiously because I know you're very engaged in some interesting industries, right?
Everything that Kevin and Allison said.
Ditto, right?
Yeah, I could just say ditto. No, but
don't be so modest.
There are a couple of other areas that there have been a couple of revelations recently that I think have really sparked some different paths for how we're going to look at things going forward. But I agree with Kevin that the community college system has got to be an integral part of that transition. We're focusing much more strongly on work-based learning, on making the connection to the employers, on making the connection to the employers with the idea of transitioning and building their educational foundation through their work opportunities and the support of the employer to move them into the advanced education. I think that one of the things that we see on an ongoing basis, obviously with the academic programs, is that they incur debt. And that is something that, the nation as a whole is really seeing a lot of challenges with. If we can establish work-based learning with the understanding of the investment of the employer in the continuing education of that individual, then a lot of that debt can be offset. I heard something. I attended the Eastern Shores Apprenticeship Conference, and one of the most poignant things that I heard out of that was that registered apprenticeship is the other college education without the debt. And it is true. So that is something that we're definitely pursuing here. Atlantic County is a little bit different because for years and years, we have been a one-trick pony. We have been hospitality, retail, and tourism exclusive to everything else. We're trying to move to diversify that economy. In order to do that, one of the things that's really been beneficial that these guys didn't talk about was Perkins and career and technical education. And that has been eye-opening for the Workforce Development Board, and getting us to think about the transition from secondary education to post-secondary education and the benefits of being able to plant those seeds earlier on. We do have one school district that has a PACE program They are heavily invested right now in transitioning those kids out of that PACE program into the employment sector with the idea of working with a community college locally to develop the academic skills at the same time they develop the business skills.
And Fran, PACE is the New Jersey Department of Labor and Workforce Development grant that.
It's the pre-apprenticeship grant.
Pre-apprenticeship.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yes, but the inspiration to local administration of that school district was recognizing and emphasizing the importance of having that track that moves them directly into employment and making that a valued track for some of the student population, because we all know that the emphasis for years and years on secondary education has been going to college. That's been the focus. That's been the focus of the guidance counselors, everybody's focus. So this particular school district is shifting more to making the connection with the employers. They actually have a piece of their department that is actually going out and talking to employers now to develop those relationships, and we're helping with that. The other thing that I learned recently in conjunction with the issue of us being hospitality, retail, and tourism focused and the associated wages with that is to work to shift the next generation's vision away from hospitality, retail, and tourism to much more lucrative living wages. And the fact that, you know, we're hearing from employers about the opportunities. I know Kellyanne DeCurtis is on this call. The utility industry offers a very well-compensated living wage for people that start thinking about something beyond working at McDonald's. And it is reachable and it is attainable. Offshore wind is presenting opportunities for that generation once we figure out, and we're talking about adult learners now, so once we're figuring out what that training program looks like for them to engage in that industry, and we think we're going to, we have a meeting scheduled for sometime in the middle of July with the South Jersey Workforce Collaborative to have a conversation about what that curriculum should look like, and that's in conjunction with the Atlantic Cape Community College and discussing what that should look like, because we have been very successful with the Atlantic City Electric program that we work jointly with Cumberland, Cape May Salem, Camden, and Gloucester. So it's just the whole idea of shifting the vision away from what has been traditional to what will be the future, we think, of the area. We need to diversify the economy of the area, and that's part of the objectives going forward. So that
exactly.
I think that's most everything that I have.
Yeah, Fran,
Catherine, so Catherine, I just wanted to jump in real quick, and you probably agree with me that much of what Fran just discussed is a lot of what we talked about yesterday in that session, especially when the New Jersey contingency went into our breakout room. All those things were discussed prominently. So Fran, I think, you know, you're speaking not only on your own behalf, but really on behalf of the entire workforce system in New Jersey. We definitely see those as some of the issues and challenges and problems that we need to solve moving forward.
So I know we keep making reference to a meeting that we had yesterday. So New Jersey was selected one of 5 states to participate in Harvard University's project on workforce. And the convening was entitled America's Hidden Economic Engines, How Community Colleges Can Drive Shared Prosperity. And Harvard, it's a partnership between the business school, the Graduate School of Education, and the Kennedy School at Harvard. But what they are trying to do, right, is to identify the states, and I think it was California, Colorado, Nevada, New Jersey, Minnesota, which were asked to participate and come with a team of people. So we had someone from the Council on Vocational Technical Schools, obviously us. Kevin Kurtziel participated on behalf of the Workforce Development Boards. We had Leslie Hirsch, the Assistant Commissioner of the Office of Research and Information at the New Jersey Department of Labor. NJBIA was represented, Okay, I know I'm leaving off.
Yeah, well, it was a good cross-section of the
It was
workforce
a
and economic
great-
development system and education.
And we had two very important community college leaders who are both heads of the academic affairs of their colleges participate. And so really Harvard University is hoping to unify or create a team in each state to be the big thinkers about how we can advance workforce development, really with community colleges being the center of that. Well, guess what? We've already done that, right? And the state has already invested in that concept through this Pathways initiative. We're happy to say, assuming the budget is signed as submitted from the legislature to the governor yesterday, we're happy to say that, in fact, this initiative is receiving additional funding for the current or the next fiscal year, starting July 1st. But it's really to bring all the education ecosystem partners together, along with workforce development partners, and figure out how to connect the dots, how to break down the silos, how to get every resident in the state trained, educated, employable, and along a pathway to credential attainment. And as Kevin mentioned, and there were case studies and we listened to what other states were doing, and we literally have all the components, like right now, in a way that we've not had before in New Jersey. We literally have all the components. It's just a matter of pushing it forward. And it was very encouraging to see how other states had, pushed it forward. So that's why Kevin and I are probably supercharged today after that, what was it, 4-hour convening on
Yes,
Zoom. It was, we know we are on the right track. And as long as we keep the voice of industry at the center of what we're doing, and which is why, Fran, what you talked about and the regionality of employer needs is so critical, right, throughout the state. It's so important, and it's all part of the package. We just have to all keep moving forward together. Yes, we all have different agendas, different goals, sometimes different constituents, but usually it's the same folk we're trying to get trained in a job or with a degree. The focus on industry value credentials, right, at the college level, community colleges and four-year colleges, is something that you all have preached for a long time, because you just wanted to have the unemployed, the underemployed, the incumbent workers to have that credential that would help them get the job or move up, and employ their employment opportunities. Now that's something we're trying to bake into the degree programs. And so it's all connecting. And I hate to say that the pandemic is the reason. I think the pandemic, accelerated the process. Something good out of something bad. I don't know. Allison, what is the 1, 2, or 3 things people do not know about workforce development boards that you would like them to know? Because sometimes I think the workforce development boards in the counties are the best kept secrets. So many times when Aaron and I were at Labor, we spoke to employers who said, I don't know who to contact. I don't know what they do or what programs they have. And we were always connecting employers to the workforce development boards and the community colleges. So what are the 1, 2, or 3 things you would want?
I love this question. I love it because you're absolutely right. We are the best kept secret for no other reason other than we're restricted on marketing. And so to that end, we're trying to get a little bit clever about outreach efforts. We won't say the word marketing, but so we're trying to get our word out a little bit better. And so my elevator speech, and I love to listen to my husband, who's a scientist, tell people what I do for work. But so my elevator speech is that it's as simple as this: we help people prepare for their next employment or educational opportunity and help businesses find employees. So that's the large scale, big picture type of work that we do. But there's a lot as you all know, a lot of really small moving parts associated with that. So my key takeaways or things that, I hope would attract folks to our system from the business perspective, we can kind of function as, an HR department for you. We can post your positions, we can screen candidates, we can set up hiring events. You just need to come in and select your appropriate individuals for your positions and move your paperwork forward from there. So there's a lot that we do with businesses that, they're paying really good money to have other companies do for us. And so the more we can get that message out and build relationships with our local businesses so we can provide those services, the better. So that sort of is my message to our business partners. In addition to that, there on the job seeker or career seeker side, there's a lot more than just a connection to a training account that will pay for your tuition for whatever you're moving forward, occupational training or educationally. There's a whole assessment process and service delivery system that will help you make really educated decisions on what your next step should be and what your goal should be and what your steps are to lead you to that goal. And then finally, I would say, I guess also from a business perspective, but from, this kind of hits both our business partnership and our career seeker partnership, that there are services that we provide. So like one of our myths that we're working to try to dispel is that we can't serve people that are working, and that's simply not true. And so the work and the focus that we have right now on trying to increase skills of folks that are already working and create their extend their career pathway, but then create other pathway opportunities for other individuals. And so I feel like those are the three most important things to tell folks about what we do. We need all the support that we can get to get that message out.
Absolutely. Thank you. Fran could not wait. He put up his hand as soon as I asked the question.
Great.
Fran wanted to go first.
I took my hand down.
No, he wanted to go first, so he didn't have to say ditto.
Right.
No, actually, I can say other things. About a year ago, we started to create a job development component, and we engaged the state employment services in that activity as well. The BSRs are part of that. But the difficulty was in trying to reorient state employment services to a less structured, I won't say draconian, but a state presentation.
Are you being nice because I used to be over that staff?
I'm being as nice as I can be. But the bottom line is that what we did is we took away our individuality and we became the Atlantic County Workforce Development Team that incorporates both the state employment services, BSR, and my job development people and me. And that has been much more effective in speaking with employers. Our pitch to employers is very, very simple. We basically say, look, we can handle your administrative responsibilities. We can find you talent for the positions that you're looking for. We can offset some of your costs for training those people, and we can do it quickly. That is our pitch the whole way through, because if you start talking about, and yeah, I'm going to talk about state services. We start talking about state services, the problem with their operation is the funding is not guaranteed. It is hit and miss, and it is delayed. We can turn around payment in 2 to 3 weeks maximum. And that is very attractive to employers. So we've been pitching that on an ongoing basis now.
So what Fran is describing is there are employees at the New Jersey Department of Labor and Workforce Development who are dedicated to reaching out to businesses to inform them about employment support services and to connect the state's unemployed to employment opportunities. And they really are partially housed at the one-stop career centers or American Job Centers with the county staff, with Fran's staff. And, there have been various iterations of how they work together. And the best way is what you described, Fran, and that is as a team. And in some counties that was always happening.
Right.
Right. And I remember that Aaron and I certainly were trying to encourage that. Glad to hear that that's a model that is being very successful.
Yeah, the one thing that I wanted to add, because I mean, there are strengths and weaknesses for all of us, but the one strength for employment services is their ability to access the system. I use the word focus assist all the time, although nobody else says, well, that's gone, that's not there anymore, but it sounds really good. So we use that for the word search on the resumes for those people that we're trying to do outreach to for specific skill sets. And then the staff at Employment Services will do telephone outreach to those people individually that are identified for the employer. So we have our own version of Indeed that is interactive. And that's the way that, like I said, we talk about this from the standpoint of the value that we add to the employer directly. And we keep saying we have money.
Right.
They like
well, and that's the thing, right? There are resources available that working adults, incumbent workers, employers, unemployed don't realize are available to them. I feel like this panel's conversation for this collaborative meeting focused on infrastructure and energy kind of was focused on the employers, which is great. Certainly we have coming up in the next segment of our meeting, highlighting partnerships, right, between the workforce development boards and the community colleges. But I will say that through this Pathways initiative, with the community colleges being in partnership, in a more formal partnership with GACITA and the workforce development boards throughout the state, we are hoping to connect the high schools to you all and your resources, certainly the community college students and four-year college and university graduates, as well as those working adults, unemployed, being trained by community-based training providers and labor unions. Like we're really trying to, we have brought together through our centers of workforce innovation, all of those education partners to figure out how we connect all of our offerings so that our state's residents can see eventually when we get to the point of advertising them or making the pathways available to the public, really see what those career pathways are, what education is required at each education partner institution along the pathway, so that everyone has a clear vision of maybe what they want, what's in demand, and how to get there. Right. Kevin, can you close us out with some closing remarks?
Sure. So just to go back to the question that you originally posed about, the workforce development boards, I think one of the things that we also missed the boat on is that we don't educate employers to know that they can be part of the workforce development board, right? If they're a key decision maker, that they have the ability to, as a member, shape workforce development policy for a local area. And that's crucial. Again, I think one of the things that we talked a little bit about yesterday is that there's a lot of data out there, but sometimes the data is not always accurate, and having that anecdotal information from employers who, if they're a board member, brings tremendous value because they can validate data that you present, or they can tell you, no, that's off base, and this is what trends are happening in our industry. So I think that encouraging more businesses to become part of the workforce development board is crucial to the success. And I think a lot of times they don't realize that the workforce development board is really their board, right? That they are members of, they can potentially be a member and provide input that is crucial, that we really need. So I think I would leave with that. And again, just to echo both what Fran and Allison have said, that yes, we are a best kept secret. And I think GACITA can play a bigger role also in helping some of the marketing that we need to do to businesses, because one of the negatives of the public funding that we get is that we can't really utilize it for marketing, right? But GACITA can certainly play a role in that. So again, I think that's what we need to focus on, and educating people about what the workforce development boards do.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for being in partnership with the community colleges with this Pathways initiative. And I'm very excited about what is ahead of us, what we will do and accomplish together. Thank you all. And I'm going to turn this meeting back to Stephanie Staub.
Great. Thank you so much, Catherine. Thank you, Catherine, Kevin, Allison, and Fran. That conversation was amazing. I mean, like so much chatter, so many people that want to follow up and learn more, especially about that Harvard program or that study that you talked about yesterday. So we'll definitely be following up with folks on that. So now I'd like to welcome our Pathways to Career Opportunities segment. We're actually featuring the Newark Workforce Development Board and 3 of its construction trades grant program training partners. And they're really focused on creating opportunities for women and minorities in construction. And it's really a terrific partnership, multifaceted partnership. So we will hear from Angelique Morrison. She is the chair of the Newark Workforce Development Board. Angelique actually has terrific experience, 30 plus years of experience working in the construction industry as a compliance specialist, ensuring that contracting and workforce diversity, including implementing pre-apprenticeship and permanent construction job placement programs. So that's extremely relevant to what we're going to talk about today. So Angelique works diligently with the Workforce Development Board Executive Director and their staff to identify programs, grants, and service providers and partners to provide greater employment opportunities for the residents of the city of Newark. And I have to say, these programs are structured so that the graduates can either go into apprenticeships, they could potentially go work directly for contractors, or they're being exposed to the construction industry in ways that really highlights all of the different types of careers that you can go into related to the construction industry. And so they can really go into our community colleges and explore different programs there that relate to construction. So Angelique, welcome. If you could just give us an overview of your construction trades grant program. I think you're on mute. Still the words of the year.
Sorry.
Right? There you go. No problem.
There we go.
The floor.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. It is a great pleasure and it's very educational. The previous segment, I have so many questions, Stephanie, when we get done. But just to talk a little bit about the Newark Workforce Development Board, the mission of the board is to lead and empower the City of Newark workforce system by leveraging the assets and resources to ensure the educational, professional, and economic success of Newark residents. We are looking to make sure that we increase opportunities for women and minorities to acquire the various skills, including construction, which is the driving force in Newark right now. We have approximately 12 major projects in the pipeline that'll be starting up in the next year. So the Women and Minorities Grant, which was approximately $300,000, really helped us in putting together a program to ensure that the residents have educational opportunities. The great thing out of all of this is that we were able to form a task force, which has gone through a couple of iterations, which is now called the Shovel Ready Newark Task Force. And I have to applaud 2 of the training providers that you'll meet today. They are actually, well, they started out on the task force, so that just made it even more easier for us to put that grant application together and put the language in there that needed to make it successful. So like I said, we're just looking to ensure that we have representation across the communities, making sure that women and girls have opportunities to participate and be educated as to how lucrative construction is for them, and to also ensure that people who are looking for a career path that is financially good is afforded to them.
Excellent, excellent. So we have a lot of slides in this segment, so we're not going to necessarily go through all of them, and they will be sent to all of you. So feel free, to look for that in the follow-up email. So thank you so much, Angelique. I know we talked a lot about, the need to reach into the community and to create create programs, create opportunities that fit into, right? Like we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion. You're talking about, making it so that everyone has the ability to participate. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear from these next three speakers, the different training providers, because they each have a different structure to their program, right? Like different lengths, different time of day when the programs are offered to really make it available to those residents. So we're going to now hear from Dr. Sylvia McCray. She's the director of New Community Career and Technical Institute, and as their chief academic officer, she oversees the workforce programming and development and student readiness and career placement. So Dr. McCray has over 12 years in career and technical education management, and during her career in higher education, she has served or led teams and committees, dedicated to student success, skill readiness, and career placement. So Dr. McCray, I'm excited to hear about your program. And I know when we spoke, you really are very much focused on, not just providing the hands-on skills, but like I said in your intro, career readiness. I know you do a lot of mentoring and tutoring and preparing them for job interviews and really making them your participants job ready. So please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Stephanie. I want to say hello to everyone. Good morning. And what an opportunity to hear all of the information. I took a bunch of notes. So it's really exciting to hear like-mindedness. Being here at NCCTI, which is what we call it, I've been here 5 months, but I will say the program that we have, although we have a few, working in the construction, building and trades program, which actually is the seed of the former director. So I have to give him the kudos that are necessary and needed for laying that seed. And I just came along and watered it. It was a class that started, that had about, it was the first class with this partnership. It had about 8 attendees. Out of the 8, 5 of them were women. And out of, they just completed at the end of April, the beginning of May, 3 of them are placed in the field directly, hired from a partnership that we also have with a construction company as well as a manufacturing company. So what we were able to do is partner with them to have them come into the classroom and present information on a weekly or a bi-weekly basis. And so the students were getting information directly, that career path of where they could go, how much they could earn, what it would look like, timetable, and all of that. And I think that helped a lot for it to solidify in the student's mind of, okay, I'm in this program, it's 6 months, but in 6 months, I could move directly into the field and earn this much, and I can do this job, and then I can potentially move into something else. So in a sense, we had started to lay the groundwork for them to already start to shift it in their thinking, already start to understand of opportunities that were available to them. And then we started to mentor them. So we took them through the mock interview, and we took them through developing or shoring up those soft skills that we know can be a barrier, helping them to understand how to present themselves. If there were issues or barriers that were keeping them from being in class or coming to class on time, we addressed it in school. And then being under the leadership of that program, of the partnership with Trimco, which is the manufacturer with Turner Construction, we were able to really allow them to see what they were looking at. And that helped them to be placed faster.
That's excellent. That mentoring aspect of it really is, I think, a key component to setting them up for success. So
yes.
Thank you. That was a great overview. We will be circling back with some questions. So I know that you mentioned you may have some short on time, so hopefully we can get back to you before you have to drop off. So
no worries, I'm fine.
Okay, perfect. So next up, we've got Dwayne, the co-founder and COO of Soulful Synergy. Dwayne seeks to address systemic issues that affect disadvantaged communities by providing transformational services designed to improve lives and create lifelong sustainable development. Dwayne, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I apologize. My camera has been broken. So unfortunately, you will not see my face today, but I promise you I'm smiling because this has been a really great informational workshop so far. So thank you.
No problem.
And thank you for having me, Stephanie. And yeah, Stephanie said, my name is Dwayne Norris. I'm the co-founder of Soulful Synergy. We're primarily based out of New York City, but we do a lot of work across New York and now starting to branch into other states, California, et cetera. We're here in the New Jersey Department of Labor List and providing a really powerful training program. So if you go to the next slides, you'll kind of learn a little bit more about what we're doing here in Newark. Our company focuses on industries where we know there's opportunity. So we provide workforce training, both certification and hands-on in green construction, clean energy, urban farming, cannabis, and working on some tech curriculum because we know these are the emerging industries where there's low barriers to entry for participants, but still upward mobility. So by learning these skilled trades, you're really able to see a lot of opportunity for long-term career pathways. And so a number of the training programs that we're running, the one that we're working on here in Newark is the first one, our pre-apprenticeship for Urban Handyperson. And it really is kind of a training program that we modeled after the NCCR. My business partner is a former carpenter with the union. And then we were training at one of the youth build. I'm sure most of you are familiar with the youth build model, which teaches the NCCR. And we were finding a lot of good success with the program, but also finding that some of the employers in New York City were not familiar with NCCR as a certification. So it's a very prevalent Midwest in certain parts of the country, but some of the employers just wanted people to have OSHA and some kind of basic skills. So what we did is we kind of just adapted what we were learning from our employer partners into making a kind of hyper-focused, accelerated type of program. And so what we're running here in Newark is a 5-week pre-apprenticeship training program that focuses on things like tool ID, because a lot of times when students are getting hired for some of these, entry-level workforce jobs, they're asked to go to the truck, they're asked to be helpers. They're not always doing a lot of heavy construction, so they need to know what the tools are, they need to know what they're used for. We're helping them do measuring, taping, framing. So they've already been putting up studs and doing some build outs. They run some electrical wire. So right now we're in week 3. They installed a window yesterday. So my camera's working. I'd actually take you downstairs. I'm here at the Salvation Army. They're doing amazing. And so, they're getting 100 hours of hands-on. They're getting some OSHA. They're getting some additional certifications. They're getting career readiness. So I come in and teach on the professional development side because I am nowhere qualified to teach anything on the construction side. But teaching them elevator pitch, resumes, cover letter, and interview prep. And so, we're bringing this hybrid model, something that we found a lot of success with by really kind of paring things down, focusing on the things that they're going to need to know to be shovel ready in those first few weeks of employment. And I'll tell you that the students are loving it. We've had a really great response from them. We've had a really good turnout rate. So attrition is still very low. And I hope it continues to stay that way all the way through to graduation. And the partnership with the Workforce Board has been amazing because they've helped to provide a lot of resources that have really made it so that students are getting a lot of value from the program, and the barriers that potentially could be there as far as transportation or others are minimized by this support. So, we're really grateful for the collaboration and partnership.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Dwayne. And finally, our third presenter, and I am going quickly because I want to get to the Q&A, is Richard Harris with Installations 3 Construction Training Center. Richard's the CEO and founder of Installations 3. I know that he is very passionate about construction. He has served in multiple apprenticeships. His resume covers 40 years experience in the industry, and it includes, like I said, apprenticeships in multiple trades, and is accredited by the NCCR as well. So Richard, welcome.
Good morning, everyone. I'm quite excited to be here, and thank you, Stephanie, for the invitation. I want to thank our chair, Angelique Morrison. And as you see here with the opening slide, if you don't climb the mountain, you can't see the view. As Stephanie has informed, I started here in Newark, New Jersey in 1975 with the Newark Manpower Skills Centers. I'm here now at 9-25 Allen Street. And as you see this slide here, is priority is safety 1. So as public service always says, getting home safe is a must. Next slide, please. Here we are at our local office, the Newark Workforce Development Board, with our director, Karen Gaylord. She asked the students to come down and take some measurements to provide shielding for COVID safety. Next slide. Here we are in the classroom, in the back of the classroom, because this was once a restaurant when I took possession, signed the lease. These are the Newark Bridge Builder students, and they started the framing in the back. Everything is hands-on. All of our testing is with computers. Here, they're framing up the wall. We have the monitor on the back wall so that visual can be seen. Draw on the board, taking the place of the whiteboard. Next slide. Here we are in the shop. We have framing metal, learning how to use the tools. Safety is number one. Mask, goggles, PPE is mandatory in the shop at all times. And I thank the Newark Workforce Development Board for the wraparound services that they have provided. And here we are down a field trip at the Carpenters Union in Edison. Everything is about the students, meeting them where they are and allowing them to find their niche in the construction industry to build a career. Back in the shop again, tape measures on the board. They're doing a layout to begin another practical. The gentleman in the second slide is framing out a metal wall. So it's all about being, as our slogan says, shovel ready, to be able to go out on the job sites and be able to begin their career. Next slide. Here we are on another field trip with the Queen Latifah, a native Newark. Her father, Lance, is a friend of mine from back in the day. And you can see the women that are here. If I count there, I'm going to say 3, 5, 9 of them are women. And it's to be able to introduce the new workforce for our construction industry. And this is what they are excited about, being in the field and being able to go out there and begin their career. But I'm also the type of educator, I'm a learning manager and a student, and will remain a student, because what I've found over the years, they are teaching me. And since I remain teachable, I'm able to get them to find out what resonates in their system of worth, and they make the decision. They have a desire to begin a career in construction. Or I also, if it's a union test they would like to take and pass, I will train them and assist them in getting that direction. If it's going to community college, which is my story, starting from Newark Manpower Skills Center, continuing education units at night in Newark, New Jersey, and then returning to community college at 59 to attain my associates in applied science for HVAC and R. So it's all about the students and getting them to begin their career. Is that the end slide?
Excellent. Thank you so much, Richard. And thank you for all three of you for giving us that overview. We do have a question in the chat that I think is pretty pertinent. So you can go ahead and take those slides down and put everybody up on the screen. So Todd is wondering if anyone has a focus on justice impacted folks or returning citizens, especially regarding working with employers around background checks and providing opportunity paths for those with justice involvement.
Yes.
Anyone?
Yes. I have several students currently enrolled in the Women in Minority Construction Grant that are possibly living in halfway houses and are returning citizens. And with the help of the Newark Workforce Development Board, we are assisting them in whether it's licensing for a driver's license and record checking to see what can be done and where they can best be fit in what employer. I also have relationships with employers, both non-union and union. So we are placing our students.
Great. Dr. McCray, I believe you were going to comment.
I was going to piggyback off what Richard said. We do work with students that do have background history. We do try to identify employers that are background friendly in hiring employed students. Also, we work with students to see if there are cases that can be expunged. So also working with them in identifying those opportunities.
Great, thank you. Okay, so we're getting close to time. I'm just going to ask one quick question. And maybe Angelique, this is for you. What is the biggest challenge that you have in developing these programs and working with your training providers to ensure that the folks that you're serving are getting the skills that they need and the opportunities for employment or advancement to further their education? You're on mute.
One of the largest challenges that we're facing is the actual recruitment process, getting the word out to the communities, identifying partners to, help us with the recruitment process. And within that, the other main challenge is childcare, whether it's the father or the mother. We really need to look at how we're going to get the childcare industry back up and running. I think they were impacted so terribly because of COVID, and not enough attention is being paid to how to facilitate getting them up and running again. And then the other challenge is transportation. So, those are the things that the task force is looking at. The staff for Newark Works, Ms. Eva and them are, looking at how to address that issue. We're looking at
wraparound services certainly are a huge part of, especially like when you're looking at equity.
Exactly.
That's certainly a huge focus. So thank you all for your time this morning. We really appreciate you being here with us. Our time is running up, so I do want to thank you. Again, we'll be sharing all of the slides from today. And please, we look forward to continued involvement in the collaborative. So just a few closing comments. Again, I've seen some new names joined us today. So welcome those who have not been a part of our collaborative before. We are again looking for feedback. We want to hear, what you like about our programs, what would be more let's say appealing, but other partnerships that maybe you have that you'd like to focus on. We're super excited. Our July collaboratives will be in person. So look for us on July 27th. We'll be at the Northeast Carpenters Apprentice Training Fund. Richard mentioned that. That's taking place from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. You can click that QR code or scan that QR code and register. We do have limited seating available, or at least a limited number of folks that we are able to accommodate for the tours. So please do register. And then finally, if you're not already an official partner of the program, you have the opportunity to become one. Please scan that, fill out the form, and you are then connected with us. We always want to stay connected, not just as a partner, but through social media. Those are our channels. Again, thank you for joining us today and have a terrific afternoon.